as far as like lasting impact of songs or specific songs in my life with the Grateful Dead, I gotta say, there's just some Jerry heavies. The certain Jerry ballads that I can't even place a favorite. There's just a handful that are kind of rotating at the top of my list at any time that take me right back to the essence of who he was musically and kind of just the deepest levels of beauty I ever experienced with them. Because the Grateful Dead's wonderful. You have this kind of this wide-ranging exploration of Americana in all its forms. You got the cowboy tunes and you got the rockers, and so there's songs for various moods. But I've always been partial to the Jerry ballads. Because it was the time when his musical genius could really shine, and I saw my shows. My shows were in the '90s. Had I been born earlier, I would have been seeing them as soon as I could. But as so fate had it, the '90s was my time, and that particular time when towards the end of Jerry's career, we've all seen and discussed the frailty and the struggles and the tiredness that was kind of he was carrying and how it affected the music. But for me, that's really what I fell in love with. I had those moments that really just the music slayed me, where music when I was just beholding him in all of his frailty, and there's this kind of ghostly otherworldliness that was coming through Jerry at that time. And yeah, there'd be missed cues and missed lyrics, but then there'd be this thread of clarity and this that would come through in a guitar solo. And I would say that his playing had reached a level of of undeniable mastery. Just like this aged kind of wizard. And then also the I think the burden of his health, the situation with carrying the whole Grateful Dead machine, and the way that the road had kind of just etched him and worn him like fine leather over the years. I remember just looking up and beholding his face on those big screens, and he'd be singing like it's like a Road Jimmy, or a Stella Blue, and the winds, blowing in his silver hair, and it's just, his face is just etched with such emotion, and you could, being 17, 18, young and fresh, seeing this man up there that just wore on his face and in his expressions all of those years. And then in his voice, it would come through in the nuances of his voice, the inflections, the coarseness of the voice. It all was there, and it was all being communicated to me. And it was really the Jerry tunes that did that the most, And so to this day, I can put on a Peggy-O or a Standing on the Moon, and I'll just weep. I'll just say it anytime. I just go right to that place. My heart overfills, tears start coming out, and I'm in this timeless Jerry space all over again. And it is just as strong as it was 20 years ago. That has not faded. If anything, it's deepened as I've aged.